everyone. I'm Danica Edelbrock. Thank you so much for joining episode 1 of Prescribe This. So I wanted to, since it's episode 1, just give you a little background into why I thought that this podcast might be beneficial. So I have been prescribing exercise to a variety of people over the last 25 years. So a lot of apparently healthy, but also people with physiological diseases, cancer, heart disease, Parkinson's, and movement disorders as such. And exercise, I'm just always just blown away by movement and the regenerative effects that exercise has when combined with nutrition. So I have a degree in nutrition and an advanced degree in exercise physiology, and I'm super enthusiastic about prevention. I have had the pleasure of working in healthcare for the last 22 years, and it's been a mostly beautiful experience, but I have noticed gaping holes in our healthcare system with regards to prevention. So prevention doesn't really ring any bells when you are in the healthcare system. It's sort of a machine that can gobble you up. So I wanted to do this episode as a way to inform both consumers and healthcare professionals about the exciting ways that we can prevent disease with movement and healthy lifestyle. So each episode I will break down a piece of research and then apply it to the health of our daily lives. So I'm hoping our episodes won't get too much longer than 15 or 20 minutes because I realize you're very busy and sometimes it's a lot of information to digest all at once. So I'll try to stay on topic and not get too on a high horse or too, off the wall or whatever, but I get really passionate sometimes. So forgive me in advance. This also, I am not a perfectionist in the way of technology. So forgive me if I'm sort of fumbling around trying to get on the computer or find my notes, and it's not going to be like probably the highest, best produced, episode that you've seen, but I hope that you get some good information, and I'm really excited to get this going because I hope that we can begin to prescribe exercise and lifestyle changes as opposed to pills and technology, diagnostics, and all that. I think there's an amazing place for both. I just worry we're a little out of balance right now and focusing more on the tech and the pharma and the fixing of disease as opposed to preventing disease. So I'm hoping that with this podcast, we can kind of educate and empower you all to kind of learn more about your body, take what your body is telling you more seriously if you're feeling pain or discomfort or symptoms, listening to your body, but also having the tools in your toolbox to fix those cries from your body. So I hope that you are excited to go on this journey with me. We're actually going to kick it off. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in this podcast sort of dwelling on the medical industrial complex and the machine, because the machine is literally so big right now that there's actually probably not a lot of ways we're going to change anything within it. So we're going to have to change it from the outside, and that means taking care of ourselves and keeping ourselves healthy and well, so we don't need to enter the machine unless we really, really, really have to. So we're going to kick it off with a little bit of history. So I will kind of sprinkle in some medical history episodes in because I think history is so important. Everything's sort of cyclical, so it's fun to kind of look back and see how we got here and watch things sort of change, and some things stay the same and some things come back around. So we will focus a little on history. So today we're going way back to 1980 when we were warned by let me just put my glasses on. I'm on and off with my glasses. Dr. Arnold Relman. He was editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, and he wrote an expose in 1980. And I'll put all this in the show notes too, so don't feel like you need to take notes while you're listening. He wrote an expose in 1980, and he coined the term medical industrial complex. And he really was warning us what he was seeing and how he truly was concerned of the conflict of interest that doctors may have when they are prescribing treatments and medications if they are also investors in the company or the company. So he was hoping that doctors would play an independent role of guiding patients to make the best decisions for themselves. So he wrote this article, and I'll read a little from the abstract, but I would really like to encourage you to read the entire article if you want a little bit more history about what they were saying in 1980 about the rise of the medical industrial complex, because I sort of grew up during this time and I've worked in healthcare for 22 years and I have seen the shift and I've experienced the shift. And I think it's important that we understand the warnings that were coming and how to better care for ourselves in this type of system. So I'm going to go ahead and read a little from the abstract here. Again, it's Dr. Arnold Relman, and he was no slouch. He went to Cornell Medical School and taught at Harvard and was a huge public policy advocate. He really thought that nonprofit hospitals should be delivering single payer system back then. You know that we're probably never going to get there. I mean, I don't want to be a pessimist, but I'm just saying it's going to be really difficult with all the players involved right now to get that happening, maybe state by state, I'm not sure. But he was an advocate for the patient. So I am going to read a little bit about what he wrote back in 1980. Again, it's October 23rd, 1980, New England Journal of Medicine. The most important healthcare development of the day is the recent, relatively unheralded rise of a huge new industry that supplies healthcare services for profit. Proprietary hospitals and nursing homes, diagnostic laboratories, home care and emergency room services, hemodialysis, and a wide variety of other services produced a gross income to this industry last year of about $35 to $40 billion. So gross income in 1979-80, 35 to 40 billion. I'm just going to pause for a moment. And current day, that number is 4.3 trillion. So even adjusting for inflation, that's a huge increase. It accounts for 18.3% of our GDP. So healthcare prices and revenue and the machine is pretty big, and it consumes a lot of our income. So this new medical industrial complex, again, he coined that term, medical industrial complex, based loosely off the military industrial complex warned by Eisenhower back in the 60s. So he coined that term. The medical industrial complex may be more efficient than its nonprofit competition, but it creates the problems of overuse, fragmentation of services, overemphasis on technology, and it may also exercise undue influence on national health policy. We've seen this happen. In this medical market, physicians must act as discerning purchasing agents for their patients and therefore should have no conflicting financial interests. Closer attention from the public and the profession and careful study are necessary to ensure that the medical industrial complex puts the interests of the public before those of its stockholders. So that's, again, New England Journal of Medicine, 1980. So please feel free to read through that. It's pretty interesting, the foresight that he was able to see from what was coming and down the pipeline. So I can sort of attest to this. I have seen, a lot in the last 22 years. I've experienced a lot in the last 22 years. During the pandemic, I wrote to our CEO and our chief medical officer, and after reading what the CDC had published after a year of COVID, I wrote them and said, hey, look, the CDC has studied, and we have been told now from these studies that the number one risk factor of death from COVID is obesity. Number two is anxiety, which was kind of shocking. And number three was diabetes. All can be prevented, of course, except type 1 diabetes. So I was so excited when I read this CDC report, the study for a year, right? And I wrote them and I said, hey, look, like this study just came out, like we can be pushing prevention. We can be pushing, how to stay well, which will help prevent other diseases as well, but will also help mainly decrease risk of death during this pandemic. And the response I got was prevention doesn't bring in money. They actually wrote it down. I was pretty horrified and I responded, of course, if that's all that matters, there are ways to earn money off of this because the wellness industry is like a $4 trillion industry globally, but it shouldn't be all about just profit, right? Well, so that was sort of the fire that lit me originally, even more so, to do a podcast like this and continue to get the messaging out. So that was a few years ago now. Finally getting around to it, but I told you I wouldn't get off track, so let me get back on track here. So that's just sort of a little bit of the background and what I've witnessed over the last 21 years, and it really is a model of sickness. So this is kind of what the healthcare sectors are forecasted to earn in 2024. These numbers are a little astonishing, but kind of not. I mean, it seems like so much money. So the healthcare companies providing services, they're expected to profit in 2024, $197.8 billion. The insurance companies profit for 2024 forecasted at $116.6 billion. Pharma, $169.9 billion. Meditech, $72.1 billion. Healthcare IT, $27.9 billion, and distribution and pharmacies, $18.9 billion. So that's just a little forecasted profit from the medical industrial complex for 2024. Again, this podcast is going to be positive and super fun and educational for you, but I want to just kind of give you an idea of why it's so important to take care of yourself and why you do not want to just be a number in this system. What does all that profit get you and me and the consumers? Well, the Commonwealth Fund's recent edition of the U.S. healthcare from a global perspective says this, and I'll have this in my show notes as well. We in the USA have the worst health outcomes overall of any high income nation. And we pay the most. Again, remember 18.3% of our GDP. It's roughly almost $13,000 per person per year. We are likely to die younger here in the USA from avoidable causes than residents from our peer countries. We have the lowest life expectancy at birth, the highest death rate from avoidable and treatable conditions, the highest. But we have to kind of put a little blame on the food and agriculture, and we'll get into some of that in some later episodes as well. So there is, there's definitely some blame we can sprinkle around the place, but the money that we're paying for healthcare isn't necessarily equating to really good outcomes for us. We have an obesity rate that's nearly twice that of the OECD average, and the OECD is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Based on these numbers, I'm going to guess that the medical industrial complex doesn't have our back. But a lot of other people do. So there are so many people out there with so much information, valuable information. What I'm hoping to do with this podcast is empower you, educate, give you a little bit of info to inspire you to do more, to research more, to exercise more, to just make micro changes in your diet and your lifestyle and decrease stress. I want to be here to help educate you and empower you. I want us to seize the day. I want us to seize our bodies back. I want us to live healthier, more productive lives. I want us to live free of pain. I want us to live free of fear. Sickness is a huge kind of catalyst for fear, and fear causes sickness. So it's this terrible kind of snowball effect, and they impact each other. So by being more healthy, understanding your body, not being fearful of sickness, not being fearful of health and your body and how to make those changes, that's why I wanted to give this to you. That's why I wanted to take the information that I've been gathering my whole professional career and will continue to develop. I mean, I'm always learning and always figuring this out. So I'm on this journey with you. And I hope to be able to give you that gift of health. So thank you so much for being here. Please feel free to comment and make suggestions, and anything that you're interested in learning about, please just send me a note, send me an email, send me a comment, and we will explore the entire body. And I think you'll be as amazed and as excited about this adventure as I am. I hope. I mean, I'm just never disappointed by the body, and never ceases to amaze me. So I hope that my passion gets through, and I hope to see you for episode 2, and hopefully that'll be next week. I'm really trying to do every week and be consistent with that. So episode 2, I'm not sure what that's going to bring. I'm thinking maybe the importance of strength training on immune function, since we are going into, I guess they say it's cold and flu season, but it's really a season where we get less vitamin D and we're indoors more, and we're sort of sharing space and air and people's germs, which is fine as long as our immune system is strong. So there's a lot of new exciting research out there on muscle strength and muscle mass and T-cell and immune function. So maybe that will be our next episode. So it'll be good for the holidays. Try to get that out before Thanksgiving. So thank you again so much for joining Prescribe This, and I will see you soon. Bye.